Okay, I feel like this is a rite of passage for every NBA offseason at this point, because we get here's how the cycle goes. You ready for the Luka, slim cycle?
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the offseason, right? I mean, we get a couple workout videos, we get a couple of pictures. Luka all slim, whether he's playing with Team Slovenia or he's running the stairs or he's taking a picture with a fan. And it's June, right? And then by the time we get to training camp, Luka's he's in phenomenal shape, looking good, looking slim, looking trim. Then we get to, October, about mid-October. Then we get to early November.
You talking about Thanksgiving?
And yeah, then we get to around Thanksgiving. It's like, now, hold on now. What's up with Luka's conditioning? And then we have that whole discussion all over again. And now we're back to the portion of the Luka slim cycle where Luka looking slim and trim again, and he broke the internet today on Instagram.
He sure did. I mean, he looks like, don't get me wrong, he's never quote unquote gonna look muscular like LeBron or Kobe.
Like, he's not gonna be a Greek god out here ever, okay?
But
never gonna be Luka in that way.
You could see some definition in his face. You can see some shoulders.
Okay. Let's stop on that for a real second. So when do you know when you see someone who is starting to lose weight? Like, what's the first thing?
The face.
Is it? Oh, it's the face.
To me, it's the face.
What's it for you when you notice somebody starting to lose the weight? What is it for you?
I'd say the face, or maybe even the back.
The back?
Yeah, because producing.
You hear us? The back.
No, because producing back here, I see people's backs a lot. And when Zach Wolchuk started soda, I started to notice he just got narrower.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Wooly.
Wooly. Let's say from the 469, look at his face versus last year. He is slimmer. I'm not doubting that he isn't slimmer.
You just saying what's going to happen.
I'm just saying we on that portion of the Luka slim cycle is where we're at.
Are you saying it's kind of like you see these off-season workouts with Zeke every year?
Don't do that, Chris. Quit
That's
that.
my guy, though.
Stop now.
I'm just saying.
He's not even around here no more.
You brought it up. Every spring, Zeke puts out these videos where he's killing it.
Well, it's best shape in your life season right now.
And I always see what happened in the last couple of years. Yeah, he's best shape in life. But always happens in the fall. He gets hurt. He got a little hitching to get along, and he ain't got that burst no more. They ain't got nothing to do with his shape.
From the 817, 100% in the legs is when they notice when somebody is
super skinny legs,
starting to lose the weight. But okay, in all seriousness though, it is good to see at least at this portion of the off season that Luka feels like he's getting in shape. Let me tell you something, 469. I look damn good. Ain't nobody jealous of nobody right here. Okay?
He said you jealous. 469
says KG is jealous. Laugh out loud.
You jealous
Sorry.
of Luka?
Let me tell you something. Your boy slim thick with it. Okay, you ain't got to worry about that over here. Self-confidence is not a problem over here. Not a problem over here. But no, really, in all seriousness though, it is good to see him at least in the interim take the conditioning seriously, because this is something that we've been talking about year after year after year when it comes to 77 is when will he decide to put the
fork down?
Wow. The conditioning, right, Jason? Put that to consistency when it comes to his conditioning and his work.
Yeah.
Because here's what's wild about Luka, right? He's 24 years old. My man averaged 32, 9, and 8 this past season.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 4 straight times first team All NBA selection. And my man ain't in great shape every year.
And they keep saying, well, he's in his early 20s and that baby fat, he'll learn to eat right. And here's the deal. I figured it out. People keep saying he hadn't learned to eat right or whatever. I looked this up the first time he came back kind of thick. The national beverage in Slovenia is schnapps. That's nothing but sugar. The national food is dumplings. And that ain't healthy for you either. But this is the difference between over there. Notice he's in shape over there. He comes over here and he's not in shape anymore. I figured out what the difference is. Ain't no mountains in Dallas. He's going up and down mountains in Slovenia. Ain't no mountains over here. Not in North Texas.
Yeah, well, from the 972. Did KG just say he was slim, thick? City Boys just lost some cool points. Man, first Zion let us down. Now KG let us down. Let me tell you something. I got one option. I don't need to be flying out, every IG model and porn star I could find this side of, New York or wherever he's finding them these days to feel good about myself.
They found him. He told him.
Did they though?
They found him. He found them. The problem is
Zion's get down, look like he was out here, looking.
Here's what makes everybody mad.
Clearly, he got a type.
Here's what's making everybody. It's one thing he's messy with his women. It's another thing he ain't played 1 minute of basketball since his injury.
Oh, you got.
And he could have played, and Stephen A. already done jumped him and said, "You lost your legs."
We're gonna find that audio. We're gonna play it a little bit later on.
I heard that I fell out. You should have seen the look on Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. was doing way too damn much.
He lost his legs. Zion, you done lost your legs.
But let's hope for Luka, though, that for him, this is something that is going to be consistent moving forward. And for him, and this is the part that I brought up today, is the idea that not only offensively, because we know how gifted Luka is offensively, that it goes and translates on the defensive end. Because Eric Spoelstra said something during these NBA playoffs that has resonated with me throughout since he said it, and hopefully going into the rest of this offseason and into the regular season next year. When he was talking about the defense that the Miami Heat have built, he said, look, you cannot build a great defense without your best player be willing to play defense.
You got to be committed.
And be committed on the end of the floor.
Yep.
And if Jason Kidd is going to get out here and fashion himself as a guy that believes that defense is the calling card for this team, his best player has got to be somewhat committed to that end. And
somewhat. He did it last year. He was very committed. The Mavericks have the number 2 defense in the NBA from January all the way through that run to the Western Conference Finals. The number 2. They wound up, I think, number 7 overall. This was a bad start. And it was because all of them were committed, including Luka. Now, I'm not saying Luka plays some kind of shutdown defense, but guess what? He's getting back on defense. Not this year. He was arguing with refs. He wasn't getting back on defense. But just like you said, he's got to be committed. And if he didn't commit last year, I would say he's never going to do it. But he did. So, Luka, focus. Luka, focus.
Speaking of his teammates, Kyrie Irving apparently is going to be the recruiter now for the Dallas Mavericks.
Mm-hmm. I told you he'd been texting me all the last month.
Want
me to play.
Mark Stein, a Substack, on his latest episode of Uncut This League with Chris Haynes on their podcast together, saying, look, Kyrie wants to be the recruiter here. And the idea that it has been somewhat, if you want to go down this route, subtle confirmation, as Chris Haynes put it, that Kyrie Irving's coming back to this team. We heard the bombshell report earlier this week that Kyrie was out here talking to his boy LeBron about the idea of trying to come to Dallas to come play here, knowing that's not going to happen on this side of God's green earth. But at the same time, the idea being, if Kyrie is committed to playing with the Dallas Mavericks, he wants to bring others along with him. And I think that's a good sign if you're a Maverick fan about his commitment here. But more importantly, it's in line with what Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd are supposed to be when they were brought here, which is they got the relationships, they got the connections. That should help make this roster better. Kyrie trying to do the same, even if it is far-fetched with the idea of LeBron James.
Yeah, don't even worry about LeBron, but that's just one name to throw out there. All these players love Kyrie, but if you're a Maverick fan, a longtime Maverick fan, you knew the deal was all for the last 13, 14 years, the Mavericks kept wishing that they had a recruiter in that locker room. They knew Dirk's not a recruiter. Everybody loved Dirk, but Dirk ain't hanging out with nobody. Dirk, off season, he's in Germany, and then he's just practicing with Holger somewhere. And even when they blew up the team, they're like, well, Dirk ain't going to be recruiting nobody. So Cuban's out there recruiting. Then Cuban went and got Chandler Parsons because every NBA player loved Chandler Parsons.
Oh, the Chandler Parsons.
But guess what? Chandler Parsons couldn't get nobody over here. Not to play with Chandler Parsons. Guess what? They could never get anybody to do the recruiting except Cuban. And Cuban ain't going to get it done because he's an owner. They needed somebody in the locker room. And nobody ever fit the bill. Here's what's wild. Players would love to play with Luka to a degree, but they really love Kyrie. And here's Kyrie with this mad respect across the league between Kyrie, Nico, and J. Kidd. Relationships can sometimes make a difference. I'm not going to say it's always going to be the difference, but at least you got another weapon to use in team building. It's kind of like, let's flip it to the Cowboys offseason. I was always mad at the Cowboys saying we're a draft and development team, which meant they weren't trying to make trades. They weren't trying to sign free agents. Well, the Dallas Mavericks at one point were never using the draft. That's limiting themselves. And they were always trying to recruit, but they didn't have a recruiter. Well, guess what? Donnie could use the draft. Right now, they could use the draft if they wanted to. But at the same time, you got to have somebody with relationships. Nico's got him, and Kyrie's definitely got him.
It's going to be a dramatic offseason for this Dallas Mavericks team. We're less than 2 weeks away from the NBA draft. They got the number 10 overall pick in this year's draft. What it means for Kyrie Irving.
You know who I want them to get?
Who's that?
Jared Allen. Trade for Jared Allen. Cleveland Cavaliers. They've got spacing issues with their two centers, and it didn't work against the Knicks. And in other words, Jared Allen is now a luxury. Bring him back. He's a UT Longhorn. Bring him back home. He can play the role. Forget this DeAndre Ayton stuff. He makes way too much money to experiment. Bring in Jared Allen behind door number 3.
I would like Jared Allen, but I also maybe would like to make a move with the Atlanta Hawks because, those things tend to work out well with the Atlanta Hawks. In this year's NBA draft, maybe you move back in the draft a little bit.
Yeah, for number 15.
And you get Clint Capella.
Yep, Clint Capella. I saw that Tim.
I like that idea
athletic.
there. But that allows you to remain in the first round with a top 15 pick, and you get some big man help in the middle.
I've always liked Clint Capella.
With Clint Capella there. But the idea is we're on the same wavelength in terms of getting a big man in the middle to help out there for the Mavericks. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks as the Mavericks get ready for the 2023 NBA draft.